Oh, recommended book reading list. Does he have The Long Walk Towards Freedom, Nelson Mandela? I got into chapter about 8, 12. He was just starting college, 2009, before I fucked off to Morocco. And I actually haven't finished it, and I was just getting into it. And because of what happened to me in the hospital stuff, I actually never ended up finishing reading this. Anyway, we also have American Psycho. This comes highly recommended. It's actually written by a woman. I didn't know that until a while ago. Benji recommended it to me. I haven't actually read it. It was just upstairs in the gaff. And Mein Kampf. I stole this out of school, in the school library in Scalisa, when I was in second year or something. I saw it on the shelf and I was like, fuck that, and I just stuck it in my bag and took it home. So sorry, Scalisa. I just had to have it, just a novelty value. Stuart was delighted. Yeah, I just want to say some stuff. It's yeah. Okay, first of all, I did the vault. I did a horse vault when I was about 8 or 9 years old in gymnastics. I went to Portmarnock Sports and Leisure Centre Saturday morning class with Kirsten Smith went as well. She was in my class in primary school. I did a vault, froggy style, on an Olympic fucking horse, so it was like a sprint up, springboard over, and hop over, and I actually landed it, and I was fucking amazed because I thought I was gonna break my neck the entire time I was sprinting up to the actual springboard. I actually did a vault, froggy style. And they did a round off the beam as well, so that was putting your hands on the end of the beam, which is only this wide. It's only 3.5 feet, about 4 inches wide, and it's 3.5 foot off the ground. And you round off, it's like a cartwheel, except you put both hands together on the ground at the same time. So putting your hands on the bottom of the beam and then flipping over and landing with your feet together on the ground, that's what I did. That's how far I'd gone. Then I broke my arm in school. Then when I came back, it was the class it wasn't on anymore, because they had run out of fucking financing or whatever. It was only a small place. They only had a few pieces of equipment, but proper equipment. But in the basketball courts in Portmarnock Sports and Leisure Centre, that's where we had it. It was on. William Wallace was a boy in my class, in St Andrews as well. First time my parents were in a room together after they broke up, it was like a parents' day. After they broke the domestic, and they hadn't seen my ma for a year really, and then this is the first time I saw them in a room together. It was parents' day. There was no other adults around. There was 4 of us there, and a couple of the people were from the class below me, so I didn't even really know them. And Des kept but yeah, we were in the music room, and Des just started going jabbing at Pauline like the Scorpio he is and fucking the next thing you know, she exploded hysterical, and I'd never heard her like that before. I was in shock, and I looked at William Wallace, and William Wallace looked at me. Everybody else stared at the ground. Me and William Wallace just immediately looked at each other, and he felt bad for me. I could see it in his face, and that was my William Wallace. That was before Braveheart came out. My someone I was named after, middle named after, is Brendan and Anne Gleeson. My middle name is Brenda Ann. And I was named after Brendan and Anne Gleeson from Coolock. Obviously, a completely different Brendan Gleeson, but yeah, so that's who I was named after. That was before Braveheart came out. Oh yeah, and I might as well say this, since I'm already saying all this shit. I might as well say this as well. When I was 9, Des came back locked, drunk. Everyone was in bed. We had au pairs at the time. Everyone was. Des came back locked, drunk, and tried to get into bed with the au pair. Laura, I could hear them in the next room. She was fast asleep. I already knew she was asleep because her lights were off and it was silent for ages already. But I was still awake in the next room, and I ended up having to go out, get out of bed, walk into the room, and go like this. Oh, I woke up. I'm sleepy. Dad's gonna put me back to bed. Bullshit. because he was trying to get into bed with her, and she kept saying no, no, and she was obviously making her fucking like freaked her out, like. And the next day, yeah, the next day, like they tried to talk to me. He tried to talk. They tried to bring it up like a adult at the breakfast table, and I just pretended that I didn't fucking remember anything. But I was 9 years old. I just pretended I didn't remember anything. That was the end of the conversation, and Laura was gone. I never saw her again. She was a really nice au pair from Spain, so it was the first one as well I ran to do. But I think he got blacklisted from the agency, and then we never had a good au pair again afterwards. Like, I think she went back and told him, and I think he was blacklisted, like, from that agency, and we never had a decent au pair again afterwards. Like, we'd had two good ones, both from Spain. The first one was from the Basque region. Like, she was telling me about how Basque separatists were like the IRA and all this stuff when it was like 8. Like, it was like, hey, that's mad. Rah. Spanish rah. Like, um, yeah, no, he never did anything to Aranta's do, but Laura, he tried to get into bed with her, like, when she was fast asleep, like, when he was locked out of his brain, like, trying to get into the bed with her, like, and she's like, no, Dizzy, I could just hear her for ages, so I said, fuck this, right, I have to do something, and I got up and pretended I pretended I just woke up and asked him to put me to bed, and that was the end of it, like, Stuart was down the corridor, he didn't hear anything, like, asleep, so, um, yeah, so anyways, this is the story of my, yeah, and also, oh yeah, also when I was like 8 or something like that, I was sitting here watching TV at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I didn't have a bedtime after my mum was gone. Des worked 6 days on, 6 days off, 6 days on, 6 nights on, like rotation shifts. So he might be here for 12-hour shifts. So he might be here for all night, like a week. So I didn't have a bedtime. I was sitting up watching TV at 2 o'clock in the morning. I remember I'd been going around thinking my dad is sad because he was mad depressed after her and Pauline broke up, and he didn't like move off the chair when he was here. Like, he just like stared at the TV into space, like, for like a year. And I remember going around being like, my dad is sad, my dad is sad. And then anyway, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I was by myself sitting in here in the living room and fucking flicking through the stations and fucking, don't I come on to a movie about a fucking redneck in the United States, like a truck driver, like a fictional movie, like a fucking, like as soon as the opening credits, like, so I had absolutely no idea what it was, like, when I started watching it, and it turned out to be about redneck. Look up the word anthro-rusticophobia in the Urban Dictionary. Uh, yeah, I was like, my dad is sad, my dad is sad. Then I found out what a sadist is. This truck driver kept his daughter, 7-year-old daughter, in a box in his truck, and he only took her out to rape her and molest her, and for her 7th birthday, he cut out her tongue as her 7th birthday present, and this was all in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And I changed the station, and that was the one movie ever that traumatized me for fucking life. Like, I have no idea what it was called or anything, but yeah, for her 7th birthday, he took her out of the box in the back of his truck, and he cut out her tongue as a present for her 7th birthday party. So I saw this when I was like 8 years old because I didn't have a bedtime after Pauline wasn't here. And anyway, it's they fucking, the night before Christmas and all through the house, like, and I have to go to court over custody of my children, my son, because they're a bunch of pricks and they completely just wanted to screw me, like, because they were liable the first day, and they don't want to fucking admit it that they were wrong, like, and let me get on with my life, and I fucked with Raytheon, and my ma worked for a fucking charity that fucking children to be sexually abused, even though my ma abused me, like, verbally, for most of my life. She worked for a charity for children who've been sexually abused for years, and I'm sure she made a load of paedophile friends, like, um, and I fucking went and pissed off Raytheon as well, because my friend asked me to help her because she had volunteered to organise a fundraiser for the Raytheon line, and we were living together, and she'd volunteered, but she didn't know how to organise one, like hiring the sound equipment, shit like that, so she asked me to do it as a favour, and I wasn't doing anything else, so I said, yeah, sure, no, why not? So, yeah, and I also have a friend that joined the Royal Marines as well, that I used to train with. So I think it was a bit of maybe a bit of a bad move on my part to piss off the biggest one of the biggest arms manufacturer in the fucking world. Like they make the microchips that go into missiles that are dropped in Iraq and stuff like that by the and the British military, like Marines. Like. Yeah, my friend, by the way, that joined the Marines, one of his exercises, his training was when he was training before he passed. Like he had to jump off skyscrapers, off the abseil, off the roof of skyscrapers with the United States SWAT over in the US. Abseil off the roof of skyscrapers and boot in the windows and go crashing through. Like that was part of his training for the Marines. Like. And then his final exam, he had to snap a bunny rabbit's neck up in the mountains in fucking Scotland in like fucking the middle of fucking winter and blizzard like weather, like, and like for for survival, like. And he was the one that was asked to do it. It was his last exam, final exam, and they got him to snap a bunny rabbit's neck as his final exam, which is something you would have to do if you were somewhere like that, like, because there would be no other food whatsoever, like, so it is actually something that you'd have to do if you were somewhere like that, but nobody in their right mind would be anywhere like that, unless it was like a fucking plane crash or something, like way up north, the top of Scotland in the fucking snowy mountains at really high altitude, like in the middle of winter, like. Anyway, so there's all the bits and pieces of information filling the gaps. Yeah, so I was like, my dad is sad, and then I found out what a sadist is, like off fucking television. Like, it was fucked. Yeah. Anyway, there's a story in my life. Um, just seeing if I'm wondering if I left anything out. I don't think so. Important pieces of information that I don't know, might fill in a few gaps for somebody, and it's a load of bullshit that I'm in court over custody, and they fucking know it, like. But they don't fucking know. The people that are there don't know it, but people, the reason they're there is because there's a lot of bullshit. Oh yeah, and there was like some guy who, Fred McBride, by the way, was the CEO of Tulsa, and he was employed from fucking Dundee, England. He had been in charge there in Dundee in England when a 2-year-old boy, a man who was known to the social workers, to whatever their organisation is called, to the Child Protection Agency, a man known to them as the mother's partner, not the father. They knew about his existence. He bet a 2-year-old boy to death in Dundee, and then this man came over here, and it wasn't even the newspaper, and he was employed as the CEO of Tulsa on like a fucking 6-figure salary. And they employed him. He was there at the time. He was ultimately his responsibility, even if it wasn't him personally, but it was ultimately his responsibility. And a 2-year-old boy by a man that was known to the authorities was beaten to death like by a mother's partner that wasn't the father in Dundee in England. His name was Fred McBride. He was the CEO. Somebody else got replaced him while I was still in Miss Carr's home for fucking out of control